This is Defense Domain. In-depth analysis on global security, military strategy, and emerging technologies. A century ago, in March 1915, the world's most powerful navy launched an amphibious assault to seize a strategic strait. The operation ended in one of the worst military disasters in modern history. Today, a similar strategic logic is emerging. Before considering a landing at Kharg Island, that historical precedent matters. With the USS Tripoli carrying approximately 2,000 Marines toward the Persian Gulf, and political signals pointing toward a possible seizure of Kharg Island, the United States appears to be evaluating a ground operation. Military history suggests such operations are far more complex than they appear. The comparison is direct. In 1915, Allied forces attempted to force the Dardanelles Strait. The objective seemed achievable. The adversary appeared weak. 8 months later, the campaign ended in failure. The Allies suffered around 285,000 casualties. The operation became a defining example of strategic overconfidence. Today, Kharg Island presents a similar strategic temptation. The island is located approximately 15 miles off the Iranian coast. It is roughly one-third the size of Manhattan. Its importance is critical. Around 90% of Iran's crude oil exports pass through its terminals. In 2025, Iran generated approximately $53 billion in net oil export revenue. This represented roughly 11% of its gross domestic product. Kharg Island is the central node of that system. Disrupting it would directly affect Iran's ability to finance its military and regional operations. This creates a clear strategic incentive, but execution remains the central challenge. Turning to the structural parallel. In 1915, British planners underestimated their opponent. They expected weak defenses and low resistance. Instead, they encountered prepared positions, difficult terrain, and a highly motivated defender. Naval firepower alone failed to achieve the objective. Amphibious landings faced immediate resistance. The beaches became contested zones under sustained fire. The same structural risks exist today. Iran is not a weakened force. It is a prepared defender operating on home terrain. Kharg Island is located within direct range of mainland systems. Any amphibious approach would occur under observation for days. The threat environment is layered. Fast attack boats, explosive drones, shore-based anti-ship missiles, potential minefields, all concentrated within a confined maritime space. Amphibious doctrine typically requires a force ratio of 4 to 6 attackers for each defender at the point of landing. A Marine landing force of approximately 1,200 personnel would face a highly prepared defensive network. From an operational perspective, the assault phase is only the first challenge. Even if the island is successfully seized, the strategic problem remains unresolved. Iran retains mainland strike capabilities. Missile systems, drones, and naval assets would remain active. A fixed position on Kharg would be exposed. Sustained resupply would be required. Air defense coverage would be necessary. Protection against swarm attacks would be continuous. The garrison would operate under constant pressure. From a strategic perspective, this does not create control. It creates vulnerability. Turning to the broader regional context, the Strait of Hormuz remains a critical choke point. Approximately 20% of global oil trade normally passes through it. Since the start of the conflict, disruption has already driven prices above $100 per barrel. Reopening the strait through military force would require multiple simultaneous actions: clearing naval mines, neutralizing coastal missile systems, suppressing drone operations, maintaining continuous naval presence, all within a contested environment. At the same time, Iran retains escalation options. Regional energy infrastructure could be targeted. Facilities in Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Kuwait would be at risk. Previous attacks have demonstrated this capability. In 2019, a drone strike on the Abqaiq facility temporarily disrupted around 5% of global oil supply. Current capabilities are assessed to be significantly higher. This expands the risk from a localized operation to a regional energy crisis. Turning to the historical lesson, the Gallipoli campaign remains one of the most studied military failures. Its central lesson is consistent. Naval superiority does not guarantee success in seizing defended coastal terrain. An attacker crossing open water faces inherent disadvantages. A defender operating on home ground with short supply lines holds structural advantages. These dynamics tend to be underestimated during planning. The same risk applies in this case. Iran's leadership has signaled continued use of the Strait of Hormuz as a pressure mechanism. At the same time, U.S. leadership has not ruled out the use of ground forces. However, the logic remains constrained by operational reality. Seizing an island 15 miles from an adversary's coastline inherently creates long-term exposure. The central question is not whether the island can be taken. The central question is what follows. What happens when missile strikes begin against the island? When energy infrastructure is targeted in response? When the conflict expands rather than contracts? Kharg Island is a high-value objective, but high-value objectives often carry disproportionate strategic risk. The Gallipoli campaign demonstrated that bold plans can fail not at the moment of execution, but in the days and months that follow. The decisive factor is not the landing itself. It is the sustainability of the position afterward. This is the core lesson. Before any operation begins, the second day must be understood as clearly as the first. This was a defense domain analysis. For more detailed assessments, visit defensedomain.com. Stay informed. Stay strategic.